what's up YouTube? Jeremiah Hersey here, and this is the 5th video in my 6-part series I'm doing on virtual tables. Today it's all about the summarize function. Now the summarize function is one of the original functions from DAX, and so with it, it has some capabilities that I want to talk about, but I want to make this very clear. You do not want to add columns using the summarize function, although it has the availability. If you want to add columns to a summary table, you want to use the summarize columns function, which we'll talk about in the next video, or you want to use a combination of the add columns function with summarize. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the demonstration. If you want to download the file and follow along, just click the link down below and you can download that file. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So here I am inside of the Power BI desktop, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new table here. All right, and we'll go ahead and call this the summarize table. I'm going to hit Shift Enter to drop me down to the next line. And so as we start typing in summarize, we're going to see that it creates a summary table grouped by specific columns. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to summarize the sales table, and we're going to group it by the product color. Now, we're also going to add a column just to show you it has the functionality, but you do not want to use it. I want to recommend that you use the summarize columns function if you want to add columns to a summary table, which once again, we'll talk about this function here in the next video. Today we're going to use the summarize function though. So I'm going to go ahead and hit tab here. The first table, what table are we going to summarize? Well, in this case, I'm going to summarize the sales table. All right, and so we're going to summarize the sales table. It's going to allow us to group it by specific columns. And so the column that I want to group it by is the product color. So I'm going to call it to the product table and to the color column. So this would create a summarized version of the sales table with the product color. Now, once again, if we wanted to properly add columns, we would use either a combination of add columns with this summarize function, or we would use the summarize columns function, which we'll talk about in the next video. But it does have the capability, so I want to show that off to you, but it is not recommended that you create additional columns this way. So I'm going to hit a comma here, I'm going to hit Shift Enter, and I'm going to put double quotes here and call this the sales column. Once again, this is not the recommended method of adding columns to a summary table. It is recommended to use the summarize columns function. And so we're just going to call out to our total sales measure that we have here. And so this is going to create a summarized version of the sales table based on product color. All right, so we'll go ahead and return that to see what we get here. All right, and so we can now see that we have our table grouped by color. And as we talked about in the last video, we can see that the data lineage is preserved, meaning it is able to filter down that information. I'm just going to put a little note in here. This is not the recommended method. Use summarize columns function. And so as we understand that the summarize function is going to create a summary of the input table based on a column that we choose. If we want to ever add any additional columns, we want to make sure that we use the summarize columns function, which once again we'll talk about in the next video. I want to thank you so much for joining me, and once again, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content, and look out for the last video in this series talking about summarize columns, which is going to show us the proper way to add columns to a summary table. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you in the next one.